the Everything But Politics podcast.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to this special edition of the Everything But Politics podcast. I've been fired up for this episode for a very long time. Finally here, joining us from the beautiful, great city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We got Ryan Shazier joining us. Ryan, it's great to meet you, and thanks for taking the time to be with us, my man.
Welcome. Yeah, man, no problem. I'm glad to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
It's our absolute pleasure. So, just very recently, NFL draft in Pittsburgh. What was that like for the city? That must have been extremely special.
Yeah, no, it was really cool because, Pittsburgh, people that live here, they say it's a big city, but it's a small town feel. And that's really how Pittsburgh is. We're an average size city. It's a blue collar city. That's why we have the Steelers, the Penguins, the Pirates. It's more blue collar sports. So it's just the city was built off of steel workers and now it's built off of medical industry and in the sports. So I just think it was really incredible to have so many people come check out Pittsburgh and just see what the city is like. It's a city that's in the middle of hills between three rivers, and with a bunch of bridges. So if you're not from here or you haven't been here, it's definitely a sight to see. So I think it was really cool to have the draft here. So.
And what were your expectations going in? And did it outperform your expectations? Was it better than you thought?
Yeah, it was definitely better than I thought. I think they did a really good job of just how they handled the crowd control, how they handled the anticipation of all the people coming in. I know it was so funny because the people that live in Pittsburgh, some of them was like, man, like it was almost like a ghost town downtown because like there were so many people coming to town. It was 800,000 people that went to the draft.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah. Like that's a lot of people. Like the people that live in Pittsburgh, they didn't really go down to that area as much. Some people did still visit that area, but I think they did a really good job because they allowed people to navigate really well. And then I also thought it was really cool just to see how they opened up the space for everybody to walk around, which was really smooth. So I just thought that they did a great job, and the city looked great, and the weather complied as well because in Pittsburgh, it's not as sunny as it looked when the draft was going on.
I get it. Wait, in your time in Pittsburgh, has Pittsburgh ever put on an event of that size?
Not that I know of. Yeah, obviously the biggest events that we normally have are like, the draft, then a draft, like a Steelers game or a Pirates game,
Yes,
or a Penguins game, especially like in the playoffs. But you might have an event like, Rib Fest or something, but that's not that big. Or you might have like Picklesburg and things like that, but that's not that big. And then a marathon, but other than those events, you don't really have that many people in the city because, to be honest with you, I don't know if the city can sustain that many people on a regular basis.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna have to check out Rib Fest. I like the sound of Rib Fest. That sounds
Rib Fest is good. Yeah, it's good.
That sounds cool. So Ryan, I'm fascinated about your journey. So South Florida kid, you're from Fort Lauderdale area, correct?
Yeah.
Or Plantation?
Yeah. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, but I went to Plantation High School.
So you went to Plantation High School. What was your recruiting process like being down there? There are a lot of studs coming out of South Florida. What was that like for you, kind of standing out from the rest?
The one thing that's kind of cool about being in South Florida is that you're going to play against some dogs all the time, every week. Every week I went against a kid that went D1. And not just regular D1, like they went to Miami, they went to Florida, they went to Florida State.
Yeah.
Even going to like a FIU or FAU, that's still a big time D1 school.
No doubt.
So like every week you're going to play at least one of those type of guys. And sometimes you're going to run into a school where they might have 6, 7, 8. St. Thomas 10, 12. So it just, you have to kind of show out all the time. The one thing that's a blessing about being in Florida is that it's hot all the time. So to us, when it's 50 degrees, that's, Timberlands and hood and coat weather. But like when I see 50 degrees now in Pennsylvania, I'm like, man, this is a nice day.
It's like summer's here. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny because you can play football year round there. So it allows you to constantly just play and outside, kids playing catch, in December for Christmas, while kids up north are getting, are playing outside in the snow and playing hockey and things like that. Kids in Florida are getting footballs for Christmas and going outside in the street and
That's funny.
and running around like that. So that allowed you to play a lot. And then just like AAU is real big now, a lot of the kids you play against them so much in Florida that it allows you just to get better. Like you playing them in Little League, you're playing them in high school, you're playing them in college, and then you start to see some of these guys going to the NFL as well. So it's nice to be able to see like the guys that you compete against on a regular basis are some of the guys that make you far in the league as well. So like that was cool, but it wasn't easy, man. Like, every tournament you went to, you got to compete because
Mhm.
I was the third ranked linebacker in the country, but think about this, I was the third rated linebacker in the country, but I was like the 10th rated player in Florida. It's like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Like,
No.
while some people be the third rated linebacker in the country and they're the first rated player in their state.
You got it.
So it
Crazy.
just like it's really crazy. Like the other top linebacker was also in my state.
Who was
So
that?
it's just it's crazy. Like when you really go back and look at it like that.
Mm.
Totally. Now you go to Ohio State, which obviously is a powerhouse football school. How does Urban Meyer and Ohio State prepare you for the big leagues? How is that preparation different compared to, let's say, an FAU where they're not as competitive?
Yeah. So I would say, you know, we have to compete with schools like Indiana right now. So
That's where we're calling from. We're in Indiana. Yeah, baby.
yeah, nah, so
Hoosiers.
yeah, nah. But what I would say is that things that Urban would do, things that Ryan Day were doing,
Mhm.
is that like they recruit a lot of guys and like from where I'm from California, from Indiana, from all over the country to bring them in because iron sharpens iron. But then you also have a strength staff, you also have a coaching staff with the linebacker coaches. And then one thing that Urban was really good at is just the mental warfare, just understanding that like everything's not going to be easy. Just because you're the best kid doesn't mean that you're just going to walk into every situation and beat everybody down. So like a lot of times mentally, like they'll find ways to beat us down, but
Mhm.
not in a way of like demeaning you or degrading you, but in a way of just like, hey, when you're so good at something, a lot of times parents try to take adversity from their kids and try to make them risk averse.
Yeah.
One thing that Urban would do is because he knew we were already good enough to walk over a lot of teams that like he would create his own adversity. Like we have a certain period of practice. So the practice might be 2 hours and we have the timer on like, all right, this is how the practice rolls, but he might reset the time. It's still
Oh,
within the
God.
2 hours. It's still within the 2 hours, but in our head, we're like, "Man, you're making us start practice all over again," but we're still in the 2 hour time frame of
Yeah.
the time we get to practice. But he's like, "Hey, if y'all not practicing at the level I want y'all to practice at, we're starting this thing over. We're not about to go out here and have bad days."
Yeah.
And then even if you will have a good day, like he wanted you to grade out and get a 90, get a 95, or get 100, because like just getting, some people like if you get a 70 grade, that's a good grade, but like at FAU, that might be cool. That might help you, win a few games and win I don't know what conferences they are now, but you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, I don't even
win,
know either. Yeah.
win the Mid Atlantic or win the Conference USA. But like going 70% is not going to win you the Big Ten.
No.
Nah,
You know what
it's
I'm
a C
saying?
minus average. We're better than
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So like he wants you to average out at like a 90 or 85.
Yeah, I got it.
And then it's like you have to understand, like you can have an 85 and still it not be good enough. And like he's gonna criticize, like not criticize you, but he's gonna let you know when you're doing well, but he's gonna definitely emphasize on like those 2 or 3 things that you didn't do right that game because
Yeah.
like when you're playing a team like Indiana, when you're playing a team like USC, a team like the team up north, or Penn State, or Alabama, or Georgia, you don't get 5 chances to mess up.
Mhm.
You get 1. So like it's like, hey, he's trying to make sure that you're leveling out on that playing field. And then he also helps you when you get to the NFL. Like mentally he prepares you so whenever somebody says to you in the NFL, you're already prepared for it because you're getting coached at an NFL level. You're just playing college ball.
Black and tan. Brickhouse Coffee has welcomed this pub-inspired blend into its family as a gift to the indecisive. A flawless and balanced fusion of our darkest black roast and the flavor-packed lightly roast El Corazon. This certified organic coffee crushes the stigma of the just average middle child. Not this guy, but bold yet clean finishing. It is a delight that satisfies down to the final drop. Perfect for the whole family, regardless of rank and birth order, and crafted with the purity and care of certified organic beans. Brick House Coffee Co., the best. Now back to the episode. What's interesting here? So we're talking about Urban Meyer. So you originally committed to University of Florida while he was the head coach, if I'm correct, and then decommitted, went to Ohio State, and in that same time period, Urban Meyer says, "I'm going to become the next head coach at Ohio State." When you got to Ohio State and you crossed paths, was it kind of like, hey, look who it is? Was it one of those kind of things?
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, man, I knew I'll coach you eventually." I was like, "Yeah, all right, man." Like, all right. Now, but the thing is, it was kind of cool because um, I was committed to Florida for a year and a half. So like I was like, man, like I'm really looking forward to playing for Urban. And then, he had some health issues. And when people have health issues, you just never know. Like you got to take care of yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So he ended up, having retire for that year. But then, he's from Ohio. He actually coached at Ohio State when he was like an intern and things like that. And like who doesn't want the opportunity to coach at Ohio State? Like every coach in the NFL, I mean, not NFL, every coach in college, unless they're at their alma mater, I think would choose coaching at Ohio State.
Sure.
Yeah.
So like when he had the opportunity, you can't pass that up. He won a championship there, and he had multiple, great seasons there. So I don't blame him for coming, but I was like, man, like this is crazy because I had Tressel, and then once I got to Ohio State, it was a scandal, so I lost Tressel. Then I had Coach Fickle, who was a great coach, but it just unfortunately he just got the bad draw at that time because there was a lot of guys suspended when he was coaching, and then you can't pass up a Hall of Fame coach.
No.
So I was blessed to have three amazing coaches, and Urban ended up being a guy at Old State. And I'm to this day I'm still thankful for that because I wouldn't be the man I am now if Urban didn't come to Ohio State.
Well said.
Beautiful. Yeah, well,
Talk to us. I want to know about like the little Buckeye patches on the helmets. Like, how do you earn those? What are some of the skills you have to, not skills, I say, the achievements you have to pass to get that?
So like every game, the whole team can get Buckeyes, right? The whole team.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
All right,
then-
I gotta take a step back. What is a Buckeye?
So a Buckeye tree is a strong tree, and it pretty much is a poisonous tree. So it's a poisonous nut.
Wow.
So like in the wild, if an animal eats it or you eat it, and you don't know what you're eating, it can kill you.
Okay.
Right. So it's a poisonous nut. But then also like they're like grown in Ohio.
Got it.
So like that's why it's Ohio State Buckeyes because it's a poisonous nut, that's
Got it.
but so like that's like it's an Ohio thing, So because I didn't know what a Buckeye was either.
Yeah.
So secondly, the way to get a Buckeye leaf, so like a leaf does look like a weed flower almost, but
Yeah.
the way to get a Buckeye leaf is every team, Indiana, the Steelers, the Patriots, it don't matter who you are, your local high school, you all have goals going into the game.
Yeah.
Like, hey, get 2 turnovers. Hey, like rush for 100 yards. Don't let them rush for 100 yards. Like throw for 200 yards. So like we'll have team objectives, like score at least 18 points, like 20 points or whatever. Like in college is like score 25. In the NFL is like don't let them score over 17 or something like that.
Okay.
Right. So basically you'll have about like 7 objectives that you will the whole team is trying to get. If you hit 5 of them, the whole team gets 5 Buckeyes.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then based on your individual play or the position group that you're in, then now that allows you to get more. So like if the team so we automatically get a Buckeye leaf if you win. You know,
Yeah.
you automatically like if you know if the defense plays better than the offense, that game the defense might have hit 5 of their objectives, so they get 5 Buckeye leaves. But if you're on offense and you didn't hit them, you get 1 for winning, and then you get 3 for like the 3 objectives you hit. But like, say if the offense didn't play well, but Jeremiah Smith had 200 yards, Jeremiah Smith might have 3 Buckeye leads because he had 2 touchdowns
Yeah.
and 100 yards. Like
That's
so,
nuts.
like you can if you can get them from multiple different ways, and like they let you know like each week, all right, this guy got the most Buckeye leads. Like they'll let you know like in meetings, like we had a great week, but this week Jeremiah got 10 Buckeye leaves. Ryan got 9 Buckeye leaves. Braxton got 8 Buckeye leaves. Like,
Yeah.
But sometimes if you just have a killer game or like the team is balling, you can mess around and get 13 to 14 Buckeye leaves in one game.
Wow.
Badass. And
Yeah.
how did Ohio State and Urban Meyer prepare you for the NFL?
I would say the way they prepare me for the NFL is just competing with each other on a day-to-day basis. Like I was saying, like when the mental situations, I'm gonna just use an example. I'm gonna use an example. When we first got to the NFL, when we first got to college, I remember one of my good friends. His name was Bradley Roby. So he played for the Broncos.
Yeah.
And it was one story where he was in practice and he caught a pick in practice and he like threw the ball at the sideline or something like that, right? And it was just like coach was like, "Hey, yo, like don't do that again." So then they tried him again, and then he was like he was like kind of just locked in at that mode, and he was just like, F it. And he just did it again, right? So then so then coach was like, all right. So it was in 7-on-7 mode, and pretty much the next 15 plays, coach had Bradley in versus every receiver on the team, and they were all running go routes the whole time. Just everybody running goes. Like we're literally in 7-on-7 just watching him guard all the receivers on go routes, like back to back to back to back to back. And it was funny because Coach Meyer was really trying to like tell him like, yo, like I understand that you having a great time, a great game, you're doing like great practice, and you in the zone. But like at the end of the day, you can't be an asshole, right? And but the thing that was crazy is Bradley ended up stopping every single receiver, like on all those. Right, he was gassed, but he stopped him in all those situations, and it was cool because, in my opinion, it let him know like no matter how good you are in a situation, like you can be put into positions where you're gonna feel uncomfortable based on your actions or based on somebody else's actions. That's what he did to Bradley. But he also wanted to see if Bradley would stand up in the situation, and he did. Like, so it was kind of cool to see them go back and forth. Like Coach Meyer gained a lot of respect for him for that.
Yeah.
Because like he literally went against like 10 or 15 receivers going running go routes the whole time. And he stopped every single one of them.
Wow.
And then just from a aspect of a guy from like looking at them, because I'm not a real confrontational guy, so I would not be in that position.
All right.
So like just to watch that, to me it was just like, yo, like this is how fast the tables can turn and you can be put into a shitty situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
it's like don't ever put yourself in that situation. Don't put the ball in somebody else's court. And like that's what helped me. But it also like showed me like when the tables are turned against you, you still got to stand up in the heat of the fire.
For sure.
Like
For
that's
sure.
it. So I thought like to me like that story still sticks with me all the time.
Well, and I feel so much of life, and especially football, like really, especially football, is getting the luck of the draw. Because you get drafted to a bad situation, like getting drafted to the Jets would suck. You got drafted to the Steelers. Great organization with a great head coach. How did your life change when you got drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Man, I would say that the biggest thing that was life changing for me was more of the money. And the reason I say that is because I was blessed in my life to have a great high school situation. I was blessed in a great college situation, and I was blessed in a great NFL situation.
Big
Like
time.
most
Yeah.
people, they might have a messed up high school situation, then go to college and it's a good situation, or they might go to a college situation and they don't get to play and they didn't have a great support system. But I was really blessed, and I'm thankful to God because of this. Is that like in every situation of my career, I I fell into the right situation.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah.
Like, I know it sucked, like, losing Coach Tressel, but, like, I learned a lot from Coach Tressel in the few months I had him. And Coach Fickle, I learned a lot from him in the few months I had him. You know, with Urban, it changed my mindset about being able to fight through any situation. And then when I got Coach, Tomlin and then the Steelers, it was just like, man, I really got into an organization that's ran like a family business because it is a
Yeah,
family
it
business.
is.
They treat guys with respect. They understand that guys are coming here to play ball, but they also have a family. They also are coming from places that are not like it here, and they treat people with respect and they want to see the best for them. You know, like I still have a role with the team, and you know that's just because of the connection that I have with the team and the fans. You know, like at Ohio State, that's some of the best fans in college football.
No
You
doubt.
know, and same with the Steelers. Like
Yeah.
I could go anywhere in the country and people know the Steelers. I can
Yep.
go anywhere in the
Yep.
country and people know Ohio State. You don't get the opportunity to do that all the time,
No.
and which is a blessing. And I would say that was the biggest change for me is the money because it's like obviously I never financially been in a situation like that before, but like when it came to the people, it was just more of a blessing because I feel like God put the right people around me to help me continue to succeed. Like, if you want to be great at football, getting drafted to the Steelers is the best place to go. Like
Agreed.
one of the best places in the
Mhm.
NFL to go.
No
Yeah.
A
doubt.
lot of places like want somebody to be a savior for them. For the Steelers, I feel like they have so many great football players around you they leave success. Like they leave clues. If I'm at practice and I see Antonio Brown staying after practice, why am I leaving practice early?
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
so
If
true.
if 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 Ben is throwing extra balls to Antonio, is Le'Veon is at practice early, you know, catching balls and doing and running drills. Why am I leaving early? If Pouncey and all the old linemen are every week making sure they spend time with each other at each other's house throughout the week to build a relationship, why aren't we not doing that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's just a blessing to be in a situation where like I can just there's so many clues left in front of me for me to succeed. And that's where like it's a blessing to get drafted by the Steelers because like for instance, we just got Max. He's gonna be a great player. We got Drew Allen. We got, you know, Jeremy Bernard. You know, we got a lot of good players. And the thing is, all they have to do is literally go watch the great players that's before them, what they did. If like Max can look at TJ and see how hard TJ practiced every single day.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like he's either gonna let TJ beat him or he's gonna learn I gotta beat him and I gotta stay out a little longer. You know, Drew Allen's gonna see that if Aaron comes back, boom, he can use Aaron. But if not, him and Will Howard can call Ben. You know, like when it comes to this, the same thing when it comes to the receiver wise. You know,
Yeah.
like we have Michael Pittman Jr. and we have DK. Obviously, they're not like they both weren't drafted by the Steelers. But the one thing they can do, they can call guys like Santonio Holmes because he always comes back. Lynn Swan
Yeah.
always comes back. You know, Hines Ward always comes back. Like if you're trying to be successful at anything, the first thing you should do is try to ask the people before you how they did it. And that's the one thing that Ohio State and at the Steelers, there's so much of that. If you're not good enough, in my opinion, it's on you.
Yeah. It's like
Well
a
said.
family.
Yeah, it's so much of this, like we said, is just a matter of luck. Like for you, those are two. Not only are they blue bloods, being Ohio State and Pittsburgh, but based off what you're saying, and I'm fired up a little bit by the passion and energy because I could hear it in your voice that comes with being a part of those families.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it means everything to me, like, because it's just like when I go back to Ohio State, there's a lot of love, but like even when they transition to a new coach, a new coaching staff, it's still that same legacy and that same understanding that we're not gonna leave out the people that made us what we are. You
Yeah.
know, and the Steelers feel that way and the Ohio State feels that way. And to me, like I have both of them tatted on me, and I'm thankful for it because like there's not a lot of people that get the blessing of saying, "Hey, I went to the Ohio State University." There's
It's
so many
true.
kids that want to go to that
Yeah.
school,
No doubt.
and they don't get the opportunity.
No
There's
doubt.
so many kids
doubt.
that get drafted and they're going to other teams that's not named Pittsburgh Steelers
Mhm.
that don't have the clues left for them, that don't have people that have the as much success as the Steelers had. And to me, like you said, it's a luck of the draw, but it's also just a
Yeah.
blessing. And
Yep.
and the one thing I want to do is not take that for granted.
So true. So, speaking of not taking things for granted, like we just mentioned, you had two incredible coaches in Urban Meyer and Mike Tomlin. How did Urban Meyer differ from Mike Tomlin in terms of their leadership styles?
So with Urban, he's more of a try to use the right word. So when you do college football, especially before NIL, there was a lot more of a dictatorship back then type of way of style of
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah.
It's not like that as much anymore. I'm not saying that he's like that, but he understands that like these are the keys to success. And if you want to be successful, you need to follow these keys exactly how they are.
Mhm.
And I promise you, you'll be successful. And the thing is, Urban does a really good job of showing you ways to succeed and showing you ways to become great. The thing is, you might not be a fan of every route that he takes, but that's the reason he's a coach and
Yeah.
you're the player. You know,
True.
he understands how to win, so he's going to do it his way. And as most coaches are, they're pretty stubborn with how they do it. And to me, I'm glad at the way that Urban was a coach because it helped me turn into the player that I am.
Mm.
So when it comes to Coach Tomlin, I think he's an amazing coach, and the way he does it is more in a um, understanding or fatherly way.
Mhm.
I can't get the word out, but basically the way he does it is he understands who's working with him, who's on his team, and he understands how to pull the talent out from them individually. So for him, he's more of a, all right, Ryan, if this approach works for you, I'm using this approach for you.
Mhm.
If this approach works for you, Joel, I'm using it for you. If it works for you, Evan, I'm using it for you. But at the end of the day, he also lets everybody know we all created the same, but we're not all equal. So
Mm.
at the end of the day, is like, hey, I'm giving everybody the same opportunity, but just know that other people are gonna get more chances.
You gotta earn it.
You got to earn it,
Mhm.
So and when you do earn it, he'll find out like the ways that help push you even more. But at the baseline, hey, we're all here. It's no gray area. And I'm letting you know this, you get this. If you do this, you get this. If you do this, you get that. It is no gray area. And I think he does a really good job of that. And he understands like coaching Ben is different than coaching me. Coaching AB is different than coaching
Yep.
Ben and me.
Yep.
Coaching Cam Hayward is different than coaching me. But some coaches like to be like, I'm coaching everybody the exact same way. We're all different people.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't need the coaches all the same way. When you're talking to the generic group, he's amazing at telling everybody this is the overall message and this is what I need from y'all. But when he goes to the individuals, he knows how to talk to every person individually to get exactly what he needs from them.
And I think, I mean, you could speak on this, but so much of being an effective leader, especially at that level when you're dealing with alpha men, is understanding human psychology. And I would imagine the great coaches you've had have all been wonderful at that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Urban has a master's in psychology.
I didn't
Obviously,
know that.
yeah, obviously, Coach Tomlin, he's great. He's great at psychology as well because like just understanding people. That's why I actually have a degree in
I
psychology.
knew that.
And,
Yes.
and to me, just understanding people and why they do things is the biggest thing. And once you understand why people do things and what's their triggers and what gets them going, that's how you can motivate them to go harder.
For
And
sure.
I think that's why both of those coaches were so good at what they do because uh with Urban, his philosophy was definitely more of a psychology method. So like he will play with with psychology a lot more and just play more mental games. But in the day, it's like those mental games prepare you for life because
Oh,
even when you don't play football, you still understand this is how people treat you.
for sure.
While with Coach Tomlin, his is similar, but his is more in a way of like, hey, I understand what you're trying to get. I understand where we're trying to go, and I understand what motivates you. And he talks to you and helps you in that type of way.
Love that. I appreciate that response and learning more about both those incredible coaches you had.
Appropriately named El Corazon, the heart, is a culmination of strenuous labor and enduring passion for exceptional coffee. Not just any coffee, Brickhouse coffee.
Mm.
This organic gem embodies the very essence of Brickhouse coffee in many more ways than one. Each sip reveals the culture and authenticity of the farmer's personal touch. Nurtured through organic practices, lightly roasted, flavorful, and highly satisfying. Each certified organic bean is a gift from our Honduran brothers and sisters, and we're proud to extend this pure and heartfelt piece of our heart to you. Brickhouse Coffee, El Corazon. Get it now, link in description.
So Ryan, I want to shift gears here, and I want to talk to you about. First off, you've experienced something that most people have no idea what is like. I want to go back to December 4th, 2017. That day, what do you remember from that day?
So that was a day that everything kind of changed in a matter of seconds.
Mm-hmm.
We played Cincinnati Bengals. That was a game I wasn't even supposed to play because I got injured the week before, and but I just wanted to push the play. I love the game. I didn't want to let my team down, but it just it was a moment that really changed my life. I went to make a routine tackle, and then out of nowhere, everything changed in a matter of seconds, and I wasn't able to move my legs, and I was paralyzed on the field, and that was something that I never thought could. I knew that you can get hurt, but I never thought that was uh something that can happen when I was playing.
And as you made that tackle, was it just a routine tackle and just like a millimeter type injury? Like what were you told while in the hospital?
Yeah, so it was just more of I had a contusion in my back, and I fractured one of my vertebrae, and with that happening, it just caused me to, go paralyzed from the waist down, and which made it really difficult for me to move my legs, and I just had to, I had to get surgery to make sure that I decompress the contusion, and and from that point on, I just had to rehab my tail off and try to get back the best I could.
Well, that's what I'm really interested about. So what you went through, like I said, is absolutely it's like one in a billion, honestly. So for you to go through that and then that rehab must have been totally incredible. Like so many highs, so many lows. What did going through that spinal cord rehab teach you about yourself and your resilience?
It really taught me that we can get through anything.
Mhm.
You know, the funny thing is, I tell people this all the time, and I truly believe this. When you're trying to make it to the NFL, it's less than 1% chance that you can make it.
Yeah.
And man, I never in a doubt thought I would never make it. But so when they told me I had a 20% chance of walking, I never in a doubt thought like, hey, this is not possible because I've overcame so much before in my life. But man, it was dying, man. It was really daunting, man. Because like in rehab, man, you try, and then and you think things are gonna to change, and then you fail, and then you
Yeah.
keep trying, and then sometimes you keep pushing, and you think something's gonna happen, and nothing happens, and you just gotta keep going. The thing is just you have to understand that like you gotta have a positive mindset no matter what you're dealing with. Like rehab is the definition of insanity. You just have to continue to push through no matter what nobody says, no matter what nobody does. You have a positive mindset about it and just have people in your corner that believe in what you believe in, and you just gotta keep pushing.
So true.
And that's what I did, and I had a great team around me. Um, I had a great team around me. The Steeler organization was amazing, and I was just really blessed to be uh, taken care by some of the best doctors, some of the best trainers, and nobody really gave up on me. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the saddest things with a lot of people nowadays is that a lot of people give up on them or they give up on themselves. And when you just have to realize that you have one life, man, you have to like don't ever give up on yourself. Like you can get through anything, anything's possible. You just gotta push through it, and you're gonna find it, but you gotta keep pushing. And that I just kept believing that.
Well, you're a testament to that. So, what's the point of the injury? December 4th, 2017. From that, when did you walk after that?
So my first, I started taking some small steps a few months after.
Oh,
I was on my feet. Um, so the so I walked on the draft, which was May, which was in May. Oh no, my draft was in May. That was in April. So I started to walk in front of everybody around 4 months, 4.5 months after my injury. And then I first got on my feet. Uh, Pretty much early, like around early February, and then it took me about 2 years to, like, really be able to walk and get back into, uh, the groove of everything.
Now, 8 years later, like, I tore my ACL almost 10 years ago, and I feel like sometimes when I bang it on things, you could still feel, like, some discomfort. You're 8.5 years later, do you ever feel any discomfort?
Yeah, I definitely feel discomfort. Sometimes I have this chronic back pain. I'm constantly living the thing that kinda sucks is that I constantly live at, like, a 5, like a
mm,
4 or 5 now. And I know that sounds terrible, but, like, that becomes more like a like, so to you guys, a 4 or 5, obviously that hurts, but for me, that becomes like a 2, 3. It's kinda weird, so, um, but yeah, I definitely feel pain here and there, like, the draft was amazing, but I had, like, 12 advanced so I was on my feet a lot, walking all
right.
over the place, and so, like, I definitely had to get a massage, at the end of the week and just settle down and just chill at the house. Sometimes I wanna push a little harder than I can, but sometimes I just gotta learn and trust my body and just sit down.
Mm,
So I definitely have situations like that.
yeah.
One of the biggest things that sucks is that I still kind of have a hitch in my walk. So sometimes I stumble if I'm really tired. Sometimes I may drag my feet if I'm real tired, and then um, my feeling didn't come all the way back. I still have some numbness in some areas of my body, and to me, that might be probably one of the biggest uh, upsetting things that I had to deal with.
Sure.
What's your routine like now, all those years later? What kind of rehab stuff are you still doing? What kind of recovery stuff are you doing to make sure you feel the best you can possibly feel?
Some of the rehab stuff I'm doing is I do therapy here and there, but most of my stuff is more workouts now.
Okay.
I just have to make sure that my back is in alignment because when you have scoliosis and when you have a spinal cord injury, sometimes it can as you age it uh can slowly progress in a negative way.
Mhm.
So I just have to make sure my back stays stronger and I have to stay on top of that because it's tough, it
Yeah.
just like anybody else, you gotta continue to work on your body and to push through, and that's what I have to do right now so I can make sure that, as I get older, I don't have to have as many surgeries or more surgeries moving down the
Mhm.
road.
And as you've experienced this now and have worked with other people that have similar stuff, talk to us about launching the Ryan Shazier Fund.
So the Ryan Shazier Fund, I started that because I was really blessed. I had over like 300 sessions of rehab,
Wow.
and, you know, for me, it it, uh for me, it was really tough, man. Like because while I was in rehab, I would ask people all the time, "Hey, how are you doing? How's things going?" I ask questions, but I wouldn't really have anybody. I wouldn't have anybody like be in the same situations as me. I was getting rehab 3 times a day, while sometimes people were, uh, you know, I would see them one day and then I want to see them for a week, or they would no longer be at rehab. So I started asking questions, why weren't they there? And I started to find out that people just don't have the resources that I had when it came to my injury.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to be able to start the fund to be able to help other individuals with spinal cord injuries.
Mhm. It's beautiful.
And it's been going on for about 5 years now. We're going on 6 in September, and it's been been a blessing because we have grants that we give up to $15,000 to individuals that apply for a spinal cord injury, and we've given over 100, I mean, not 100, over $1 million worth of stipends back to families with spinal cord injury. So it's been a huge blessing to be a blessing to others.
You
That's
so
amazing.
in a couple of weeks, you have the Run for Black and Gold
Yep.
benefiting your Ryan Shazier Fund. Can you tell us about that and what your, expectations are?
So the Run for Black and Gold is our flagship event. It's normally just an event where we have athletes and jockeys from from different sports teams, and some guys I play with and guys I have relationships with, and just seeing if they were willing to, not willing, but it's more of like a Kentucky Derby style race. So it's like a 50-50 raffle, and it's more of a good event. But we talk about what's going on with the fund, talk about where the money is going, and then also just at the end of the day, it's a 50-50 raffle, so half of the funds go to the fund, and people have the opportunity of possibly winning somebody themselves. But people normally give it back, which is a nice blessing as well. But that's normally our flagship event, and it's a really good way of allowing people to have fun, and it's instead of it just being like a traditional gala.
And where is that gonna be?
It's going to be at Acrisure Stadium.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
You having some former teammates come out?
Yeah, some of my former teammates been out. Like guys like Cam Hayward been out, Jerome Bettis been out before, Franco Harris was out before, Troy Polamalu.
Awesome.
Pouncey is going to be out this year. And Vince Williams, and so it's nice to have a good group of friends that's often able to come to our different events.
That's that Steelers family you mentioned.
Mhm.
That's that family
Yeah,
shit, bro. Everyone's coming
yeah,
out to support. I love
No
that.
doubt.
And speaking of family bonds, connections, and inspiring, because all that's inspiring. Talk to us about what prompted you to write your first book, Walking Miracle. What was that process like in terms of writing and kind of getting the emotions out onto the page?
The writing, to me, because I wasn't a huge writer, so that was something that was a little tough, but, it was nice. I had a writer with me, so that helped out a lot, but that was almost like therapy for me because it would allow me to just talk about my journey and what I went through, and just the blessing of having so many people in my life to help me through that process. People told me that I never walked before, and to be able to get to the stage where I was able to walk, I was able to dance at my wedding when I was married, to be able to have kids.
Mhm.
These are things that people told me I'll never be able to do, and I just wanted it to be a book to allow people to understand, like, no matter what you're dealing with, man, you can get over this. Like, you can push through it, you can fight through this, and just know that. Uh, if you have a great mindset and a positive mindset, you can get through anything in life, and I truly believe that, and that's why I wanted to write my book.
How
Amen.
long did it take you to write the book?
It just took me just a little under a year.
Okay.
But
Every day chipping away?
so me and the writer would talk together. I wouldn't say it was every day, but it was a few times throughout the week.
And did you have the same relationship with faith in God before your injury? I'm sure it must have strengthened as you continued to progress with your recovery.
Yeah, it definitely went up and down a bit. It
Sure.
definitely went up and down because I definitely had a good relationship with God before I was injured, but I also can see that sometimes everything was going right in my life, but I also feel God makes things happen for a reason.
Mhm.
And to me, I feel like my story wouldn't be as big if it was just me being a great football player. Me being a great football player would have been cool. It would have been awesome to be somebody uh, that was attached to a game in a positive way, and I still am when it came to stats. But to me, I feel that it allows me to share my word and just to share how the Lord has helped me get through anything. Just put my faith in Him and just understanding that through all things, through all things. Uh, I'm sorry, I can't talk right now. Through through God, all things are possible.
Yes,
So
sir.
I just wanted just to continue to but I definitely have my ups and downs. Sometimes I would just try to figure out, you know, what was the reasoning for me getting injured and uh and because it was hard because I felt like my purpose was to play football,
Yeah.
but I felt like it was more of just to be a testimony of allowing me to get what I want to so he can show what he can do through me,
Yep.
and I just think that that's a testimony and I'm just truly thankful. But I definitely have my ups and downs because um every day when you're in rehab, you're not always saying just thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you're like, yo, man, this is a hard day. Like, but I never really been a person like, why am I the one to get hurt?
Yeah.
Because I really feel when you say why me, you're basically saying why not somebody else?
Mm. Well,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah, you're a
So
huge
sometimes it's
inspiration.
not until after something bad happens where like you could take the time, go through the struggle and the rehab. Then when you look back and realize why something happened and the good you take from the bad. Like some people would just get hurt and would be down on themselves, but you persevered. And then from it, you inspired millions of people, create a foundation, and continue to do that inspirational work. And that's sometimes God's plan. That you don't even realize it while it's happening until you look back.
Yeah, I truly feel that way. So, I'm just thankful for just the opportunity, and but yeah, like I read this book through Ryan Holiday. It's called "The Obstacle Is the Way,"
Mhm.
and basically it was just more about a lot of times things happen to you in life, but don't try to let that get in your way. Try to go through that and use that to help you get through life. And that book helped me out a lot as well.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing. And Ethan mentioned opportunity. Another opportunity upcoming is the Wings for Life World Run. What is that?
So the Wings for Life World Run is nice as well because the Wings for Life World Run is it's also attached with Red Bull, and so it's a race all around the world at the same time. And I know you guys are in Indiana, so
Yeah.
for you guys it'll be 6 a.m. But it's pretty cool because pretty much all around the world everybody starts a race at the same time. And
That's very cool.
unlike most marathons, there's like a catcher car. So pretty much everybody gets to start to walk, run, or roll. And with it being early in the morning, it's not really messing up with anybody Mother's Day plans. But you can walk, roll, or run, and you get a 30-minute head start, and then a car starts slowly to catch you. And based on a car, after the 30 minutes, once it catches you, that your race is up. So you don't have to actually be anywhere. You can just walk around your neighborhood. You can walk around the track at like your local high school, or you can run around the track at your local high school. But pretty much you run for those who can't, and every single dollar goes back into raising money for spinal cord awareness. I mean, not spinal cord awareness, spinal cord research.
Oh,
So, 100% of the dollars that's raised go back to spinal research. There are over 310,000 people that ran last year,
wow.
all across 190 nations and
Wow.
170 countries. So it's really all around the world. And for those who really like to run, like you guys,
Yeah,
uh,
we're in.
uh, you know, uh, for you guys to if you guys want a chance of winning, you will have to run around like 59 miles by the time the competition.
59.
Let's give it a go.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I don't know if
That'd take us a
you
couple
guys look like you
days.
got it though. You
My
guys look like you got it.
my max was we did a half marathon, 13.1, and
At mile 11, Merrick
dude,
was crying.
I was hating it, Ryan. I was
Yeah.
absolutely hating it. I was sucking eggs. So,
Nah, but, you don't have to run that far, but just, getting involved in it, it really matters. Like,
no
you could
doubt.
just at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, or I mean 6 o'clock your time, 7 o'clock our time, you can just start walking and walk to your local coffee shop.
Totally.
That's still part of the raising money for it, but for those who do love to run, and just you can run until a car catches you. And the thing that's really cool about it that uh is that for all the American racers, my voice is the race, a voice for the race. So I look forward to it.
Awesome. Well,
That's
thank you for sharing. I look forward to
Beautiful.
following along with that. So, Ryan, final question for you. If we were to do this podcast again in a decade, who do you think that Ryan will be?
Oh man, so that's a really good question. Hopefully the foundation is helping those not just in the area that we're in, but all across America, and possibly all across the world. Uh, and then I just hopefully just continue to grow in my speaking. But I just want to make sure that the biggest thing that I really care about is in a decade, 10 years from now, that I have a 21-year-old son that's doing well. If he's playing sports, cool. If he's not, I hope he's doing great in college. I have a 17-year-old son who's doing well in what he's doing. And I just want to make sure that my kids and my family are doing well, and that I just, when they look back at me and the person I was over those 10 years, that I've uplifted people and showed people that no matter what we go through and what we're dealing with, that being positive can push you through. And hopefully in 10 years when we do this podcast, that's what you'll say.
Amen.
Beautiful.
And listen, we'll have to do it in Pittsburgh or South Florida. We'll have to do it in person next time. Um, it's always cool, like when a LinkedIn message turns into a deep conversation like this. So really appreciate you taking the time, Ryan. You and Joel coming together, being with us on this podcast. I have been looking forward to this for quite a while.
Means a lot.
So you're an absolute inspiration. I look forward to reading your book. I look forward to learning more about your fund. We're gonna have the link in the description to donate. And Ryan, thanks so much for being a part of the Everything But Politics community. For a final send off, those listening want to keep up with you and your work. What's the best way for them to do that?
The best way to keep up with me and my work is you can just look at me on social. Just type in Shazier on social media, Instagram.
Yes.
And then also when it comes to, following the fund, you can you don't just have to donate. You can help in so many ways, just by understanding the difficulties of individuals with spinal cord injuries, just reading about it and just understanding that uh there's so many people that need help. And it doesn't matter if they're hurt or if they're not. A spinal cord injury can happen to us at any given moment. So just continue just to push through and be grateful.
Ryan Shazier, thank you.